Ann Kaplan from me, your mama resource from conception to college. Wherever you are in your momming journey, we are here for you. And this week's theme in our group is mother-in-law. And sometimes I hear my clients say monster-in-law. I hear all the time people talking about how hard it is to get along with their mother-in-law, whether or not you have kids. But often it becomes even more strained once you do have kids, because everybody has their own opinion about how these kids that you love so much should be raised. I want to give you guys some tips about how I was able to turn my relationship with my mother-in-law around, because it did not start out well, you guys. Both of us had really strong personalities, both of us had really strong opinions, and neither of us are very good at keeping them to ourselves. And my mother-in-law was really close with my husband, super close, and I know that she felt threatened by me in our relationship, and I also know that I felt threatened by her. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, like, I was a right bitch with my mother-in-law in the beginning. I know that, and I've owned it, and I've apologized for it a million times. But you guys, guess what? My mother-in-law was pretty mean to me too. And both of us were coming at it from a really bad place. So I want to tell you guys my tips for kind of how we turned that around, and hopefully it maybe can resonate with you guys too. So my real overall message to you guys is it takes two. Remember that song? It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight, right? It's true, okay? So don't think that if you have a bad relationship with your mother, or you're struggling with your mother-in-law, or whoever it is, it doesn't have to just be your mother-in-law, you're part of the equation. So if you're having a hard time with your mother-in-law, I really encourage you to take a strong look at what's going on for you. Why are you so upset with your mother-in-law all the time? So let's break that down. 3 tips for you guys that work really well for us. And first of all, the thing that my biggest tip for you guys is, number 1, be humble, okay? Be humble, which means recognize that you're part of the equation, and ask yourself really deeply, like, why is whatever it is that your mother-in-law does or is doing, why is it upsetting you so much? And almost always, when I talk to my clients, first they tell me all the reasons why their mother-in-law is crazy, and sometimes they're right, like the things that their mother-in-law is doing, you know, any jury of our peers would agree isn't cool. However, why is it so upsetting to you is a totally different question, and it's a complete waste of your time to spend time trying to understand why your mother-in-law is acting this way and talk about how crazy she is. It's a much better use of your time to ask yourself, why is what she's doing upsetting me? And it's not because what she's doing is crazy. It's because something that she's doing is shining a light for you on something that's very a hot button issue for you, a trigger point, something that you fear, whatever. It's different for every person. I can't sit here on this video and tell you exactly what your issue is, because you're a unique person. If we sat down one-on-one, we would talk about it further, and we'd probably figure out, like, oh, right. And I'm going to give you an example. When I was pregnant with my last kid, we announced our pregnancy to my mother-in-law, and the thing that she said to me, the very first thing she said after she found out I was pregnant was, oh, does that mean I'm going to have to deal with a pregnant Godzilla when I come to visit you? I was so upset. Now, obviously, in retrospect, she recognized that wasn't a kind thing to say to me. She apologized, we made up, or whatever. But before that, I was just so beside myself with like, just not even anger, but just like so upset. And after sitting and talking about it with my husband and thinking about it for myself, it's like, why was I upset about that? Was it a cool thing for her to say? Absolutely not. But she could have said a million other uncool things that wouldn't have upset me. Like, she could have said, you're a terrible mother. She could have said, your hair is blonde. She could have said anything. But because I know in my heart of hearts those things aren't true, it doesn't upset me. But when she said, am I going to have to deal with a pregnant Godzilla? Why did it upset me? Because there was a part of me that thought, what if she's right? Like, I was afraid. Am I pregnant Godzilla? When I'm pregnant, am I a horrible person? There was a part of me that thought maybe she was right. And that's why I got upset. So that's what I mean when I say be humble. That's tip number 1. Number 2, be firm, okay? You do not need to roll over and take it up the butt because you want to have a good relationship with your mother-in-law. The sanctity, I will say this over and over and over again, the sanctity of your family, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your partner, and just the sanctity of your home family life is first and foremost. That's not being selfish. That's putting your kids and your family first. You can't afford to compromise that by letting somebody from the outside come in and do things things that you know aren't right for your family. So you need to be firm. That does not mean that you need to be arguing and screaming and yelling and upset all the time. Be firm is tip number 2, but this leads me to tip number 3, which is be strong. Be strong doesn't mean be stubborn. Be strong means be strong in your identity, okay? Because when you're super strong and aligned with who you are, when I was able to step back and say, who am I? Am I a pregnant Godzilla? No, that's not true. That's a false belief that I have about myself. I'm capable of showing up as my best self, whether I'm pregnant or not. Once I reconnected and stayed strong in my identity, that allows me to also stay calm and not feel threatened by my mother-in-law. So it doesn't have to just be your mother-in-law. These tips work for everybody. Anytime that you feel like somebody is imposing their will on your family or threatening you in some way or triggering you in some way, these 3 tips will help you get through that and make your relationship not only something that feels good to you, but it actually is a better relationship. Be humble, be firm with your boundaries, and be strong in who you are, okay? Shine a light on your own stuff, own it, set firm boundaries, and also stay strong in who you are, you guys. And I was really, really lucky in my relationship that despite the fact that I behaved atrociously to my mother-in-law and she behaved really heinously towards me, our love for each other, our family, my husband, her son, my kids, her grandchildren, was strong enough that we were able to move past it. And not move past it in a way where it was like, okay, well, we're just not going to be mad anymore, but like we actually healed from it. We were able to let it go in the past. I could easily get in a tit-for-tat conversation with my mother-in-law right now about all the messed up stuff we did to each other when we first became related to each other, but it's not worth it. And I'm not lying or blowing smoke up anyone's butt when I say that I really did go from truly dreading being around my mother-in-law to deeply, deeply loving her. And it was because I followed those 3 tips. So I hope that's really helpful for you guys. Be humble, be firm, and be strong. Those are my biggest tips for you guys. And if you're in the private group, I'm going to be doing a video right now in another minute that's just for you guys about how we can avoid being triggered and how we can actually do these 3 tips, because sometimes they're hard. I love you guys so much. If you want information on how to get into that private group, hit me up and I'll talk you through it. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week. Bye.